Welcome to our first ever virtual event, Cultivate. My name is Danielle White, and I'm the VP of Global Customer Engagement for Collaborative Solutions. On behalf of the entire company, we are thrilled to have folks on the line representing a variety of organizations from across the globe. Obviously, as we know, in this current climate, organizations have had to make a lot of changes very quickly. And we know HR has been a key of making those changes. So today, we're going to have a panel discuss the current challenges that they're facing and how they're addressing those issues with workforce technology. But before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Please know that you are on mute. The session will be recorded and we will distribute it later. And we will address Q&A at the end of the panel. So please submit your questions to GoToWebinar on the right-hand side of your screen. And if for some reason we can't get to your question before the end of the webinar, we will follow up with you after the session. Next slide. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Collaborative Solutions, welcome today. We are a finance, HR, and student cloud transformation consultancy. We are very proud of our over 800 Workday customers that we have had over our years and the 98% customer satisfaction that goes along with it. We are an undisputed lead in the Workday ecosystem with over 100 product leads. We've deployed in over 125 countries and have global experience and locations throughout the world. You'll see also that we consider ourselves having an all-encompassing strategy planning and post-go-live services, and believe that change management is important to everything that we do. And as you'll hear today, we're not just an implementer, but we're also a customer. So we were the number 26 customer on Workday HCM and the number 3 on Workday Financials. And so we're going to provide you our customer perspective today in a little bit. We also have some strategic partnerships that we know really help extend the Workday environment, and you see those here. But I think most importantly, as we know, is that what makes a good consulting firm is having happy consultants. And so you'll see at the bottom some of our great awards that we've been winning over the last couple of years, but this year focused on our great places to work, especially among women and millennials. We have an excellence in well-being, and then really just focusing on all of our individual locations that have been really proud of the work that we do with our consultants. So with that, we'll go on to our next slide. So we're going to go through a few introductions of the panel here today, and we're going to talk about our deployment stories. So we'll have an overview from Freddie Mac, WeWork, as well as Collaborative Solutions, as I mentioned, both a customer and an implementer. And then we'll have to go into our panel discussion and follow up with Q&A, as I mentioned. Next slide. So again, Danielle White, VP of Global Customer Engagement. This is my 8th anniversary week at Collaborative Solutions, where I have served in a variety of roles and actually started in delivery. So I'm very excited actually to introduce or have our next person introduce herself, because Shannon was actually my partner as we looked at deploying at Freddie Mac. So Shannon, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Danielle. My name is Shannon Marchand, and I work for Freddie Mac. I've been at Freddie Mac for most of my career and spent over 20 years in the HR technology space. I started off in PeopleSoft 7.5, and in 2013, we moved to Workday. So any of those people have been PeopleSoft to Workday people, that would be me. I also continue to invest in learning about HR technology. It's an ever-changing environment. My team is really focusing even more so on human-centered design. That's an area we're really trying to make sure what we're building is really helping our employees. A little fun fact about me, I played softball my whole life, even throughout college and continuing through adult leagues. And unfortunately, due to COVID, this is my first year I wasn't able to play. But I also enjoy photography, so I've been able to get outside and really take some pictures and really focus on that.
Corey?
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Corey Coons. I'm a Senior Director of People Systems at WeWork. I've been supporting Workday for about 10 years. I started supporting on the client side in early Workday implementation, then moved into consulting. I was with Accenture for a period of time, and then was with Collaborative Solutions. From there, I started my role at WeWork, and I've been here for about 3 years. I wasn't aware we were doing fun facts. Shannon set such a high bar, but I guess fun fact about me, I really love live music. It's been, really challenging, of course, during COVID. not to be able to go, to music and sort of see, others kind of enjoying that environment. So definitely something I'm looking forward to post-COVID.
Tia?
Hello, I'm Tia Smith. I am the VP of People Development here at Collaborative Solutions. And even though I went to college with big dreams of being a profiler in the FBI, I somehow ended up with a career in learning and talent and organization development, but with a real passion for employee experience and engagement. I have been in the Workday ecosystem for about 6 years, and I've been with Collaborative for about 2.5 of those. And I am quite the data nerd, so Workday gives me a fun playground to go in and tinker and play around with all the data there. I would say I am really lucky to work with an amazing group of people within our team here, the People Development team, where we oversee onboarding and employee development, career progression, manager training and enablement. So we do a lot, and we get to touch a lot of employees in different ways here, which is always good to be part of that employee experience. On a personal note, I live in Nashville, Tennessee with my 2 daughters, who remind me that I'm not really as cool as I thought I was. And I guess if we have a fun fact to share, I'm also an ordained minister and had the privilege and honor of marrying my brother and his now wife just a few weeks back.
Excellent. Shannon, a little bit about Freddie Mac?
Yeah, so at Freddie Mac, what we do is we work in a secondary mortgage market. What that means is we don't directly lend to homeowners. What we do every day is we work to strengthen and support the housing market, even in times like the pandemic. It's been a challenge, but we're really pushing ourselves as a business to really be there for making home possible for millions of Americans. In 2012, for our Workday, we did an analysis of Workday and PeopleSoft and made the decision to go to Workday. We launched 7 years ago this month, so this is an anniversary for us, and selected Collaborative Solutions, as Danielle said, as our implementation partner. During that time, we implemented everything in Workday except for recruitment and learning because they weren't currently available. It was a 10-month project, and we are extremely happy about the fact that we launched on time and on budget, and Workday met all of our requirements.
Excellent. Corey?
Sure, great. So WeWork is technically a real estate company. We offer workspaces to members of various sizes. So we have a lot of individual entrepreneurs, small businesses, as well as large enterprise customers who utilize our spaces as well as our business solutions. Our focus of WeWork is very we, as we like to call it. Very community focused, really focused on kind of fostering strong relationships and engagement, among our customers, and that very much translates to our corporate culture as well. Building that community among our teams. We are headquartered in New York, but we have, have a presence in over 100 cities globally, and so, our team is supporting that global infrastructure. We have about 6,500 employees, and right now our teams are supporting Workday in HCM, financials, payroll, in a variety of other functional areas. We most recently engaged Collaborative for support in sort of a post-production model, so we are utilizing CBS services. Right now, we have a very unique challenge where a lot of our people initiatives have unique requirements, and so we're looking particularly at Workday Extend, and Collaborative is helping us with that implementation. So really excited there as we're kind of in the early days of that design for the solution using Extend, and that's something that we're looking for utilizing for our onboarding process, promotions, as well as recognition. And some of the benefits here, they are listed, but I think ultimately the tool itself is very exciting for us to have a bit more flexibility in Workday to kind of add on to our existing foundation of a lot of the delivered solutions, and then I think that partnered with some of the expertise we're gaining with the Collaborative partnership, a lot of creative solutions that give us even more flexibility there. So very much looking forward to seeing this progress.
Thanks, Corey. Tia?
Yeah, so Danielle touched on a little bit about who Collaborative is, but we have been helping organizations transform their finance and their HR departments using Workday since 2007. And we personally have used Workday internally as a customer since 2008. So as the longest tenured Workday services partner, we feel we have just a slight advantage, not only in how we leverage the system for ourselves, but how we can help our customers get creative in leveraging all the functionality that's available within the tool. You can see some of the stats on the slide, but to me, what is so impressive is how easy it was to scale our processes throughout a period of rapid growth that we had just within the last couple of years, 2018, 2019, when we more than doubled our employee population. When we think about hiring and onboarding new employees, it was super easy because we had a solid recruiting process in place, and we also leverage Workday Learning. And so that allowed us to provide access to custom courses and programs to ramp our new hires faster and more efficiently. So just one of the many benefits of using Workday, and I'll probably touch on a few more as we go through the panel discussion.
Thanks, Tia. So with that, we'll jump into our panel discussion. So Shannon, we're going to start with you. What industry challenges are top of mind for you, and how are you leveraging Workday to help solve those challenges?
So I'm going to kind of do it in two parts. One, a little bit on the larger side of the industry challenges. The way of working and shifting how we work in the pandemic has really been top of mind for not only me, but our entire company. We were probably 10% a remote company going into the pandemic and shifted to a 95% remote workforce. So it was a major shift for us, and we all hoped and thought that it would be, a couple weeks. And now as we're going in, I don't know, month 7, 8, I've stopped counting. We are been still fully remote with small amount of people going back into the office. Immediately, we started using Workday alerts to help us with getting messages out. But we also were, the way Workday set up with all the configuration, it was really easy for us to add new time codes to support the pandemic immediately. So that was really great. And lastly, Workday reached out to us and was really helping customers figure out what they could do and what the system could do, whether it was, hey, let's look at what the system has to offer and solution for your challenges. We also utilized our learning management system to really upskill our employees and put out some playlists on remote work rather immediately, and using off-the-shelf products like LinkedIn Learning to get out more information about how do you work remotely the most effectively. The biggest change, though, personally to me and my team, was we were in the middle of our Workday recruitment project. So we started the Workday recruitment project in selection back in early 2019, and through that process, we selected Collaborative Solutions as well as our implementation partner. And we kicked off the project around November. And there was set plans of having Collaborative Solutions on site for testing, for deployment, for training. We had that all planned out in early December. And in March, as we all know, we shifted. And I'm so happy of the team. They immediately looked at how we work now 100% remote. What did we decide that we were going to have on site? And what do we do now if it was always still an if, hoping that it would change, but it continued, if we were going to be remote? And the team really did a great job of doing that shift. And for us, Collaborative Solutions, we've used their CSV model probably for, I don't know, gosh, since we launched in 2013. It's been many years working with them. So we've kind of had a remote model. So we really leaned into what we were doing previously for that. But as it came to training, we had originally planned like 2 days for on-site training, hands-on, really interactive, and that was not going to be possible. So the team looked at the schedule and really were able to plan out more of a longer period of training and not full days, because you just can't keep people engaged all day long on a computer trying to do training. It's just, so we extended out the time period, made them shorter, and did a lot more smaller groups to kind of avoid that burnout and give people a little bit extra time for hands-on activities and training. I'm happy to say the deployment stayed on track. It ended up being, we did go fully remote at the end, and we found one of the biggest lessons learned and the key is communication and collaboration, and just really kind of making sure everybody's talking to each other and getting on the calls and working through the plan and make sure we're staying on track. We didn't miss a beat. We deployed it on time and within our budget.
Thanks, Shannon. So next, I think same question to you, Corey. What industry challenges have been top of mind for you, and how are you leveraging Workday to help solve those key challenges?
Sure. So I think WeWork right now, we're kind of, we have a renewed focus on our employee experience. It's been really top of mind for us over the last 6 months to a year. That for our technology team really, drives consistency for us in sort of the technology that we're working with, the employee experience, from that perspective. And so I think a lot of what our focus has been is really sort of consolidating our technology platforms, ensuring that the employee experience is consistent, which, goes hand in hand with us kind of, consolidating again various platforms. That in itself, I think, helps us sort of reduce costs, which is an added benefit. And also, using kind of a fully integrated solution like Workday is one area that I don't think we've taken full advantage of. And so that's a lot of what we're working to drive now is, exploring those different functional areas in Workday, in our existing technology platforms, and really build those out to their full extent, and kind of minimize some of the extras and some of the added maintenance and sort of disconnect that goes with having, various applications. So we've found, a lot of very obvious opportunities for us to leverage Workday, and others, referencing back to, our challenge around, unique requirements for our promotion process, for, recognition, some of these areas where we do have very unique requirements, still finding ways that we can leverage our existing technology. And that's where we're kind of exploring things like Workday Extend and other areas to really have that fully integrated platform and just, simplify overall.
Great, thanks, Corey. What's next? Tia, what industry challenges have been top of mind for you?
Yeah, so I would say keeping our culture front and center with, as everybody else has mentioned, the chaos and change in 2020. I think it was really important that we stay true to our roots, and for us, that's our amazing culture. So let me kind of summarize into 4 primary areas that have been kind of top of mind, and this is coming from more of a people perspective. First, I would say continuing to highlight our company values. We did a refresh on our values back in 2019. They're an extremely important part of our culture and who we are. And we showcase these throughout our entire employee experience. We ask behavioral, value-based questions as part of our interview process. New hires know our values from day one as part of their onboarding experience. Employee recognition, we have an employee recognition program that is tied to our values. And we also bake them into our feedback culture. So keeping the values kind of top of mind and front and center is really important. Second, I would say staying connected with our employees. Work-life integration, if that was not a thing last year, it is definitely a thing in 2020. It's all about continuing to normalize this reality that we're all facing with our home life, intersecting with work, trying to take this non-judgmental stance with kids and significant others and pets, kind of making those guest appearances on video calls. And really, I think it comes down to just continuing to remind our employees that we're all here together and, in this thing together and trying to figure it out. I would say one way we stay connected, though, is through our Collabby crews. So Collabby crews are a fun way for Collabbies to interact with one another. We use Microsoft Teams internally, and so we have different channels that are accessible to all of our employees. So we have things such as a kudos channel to celebrate successes. We have a pet shop for our furry kids. We have an LOL channel for funny memes and videos. And we really use this as a way to distract ourselves from some of the chaos that's happening and even poke fun at ourselves a little bit and remain engaged with one another. And then we also have introduced what we call Collabby Convos. So our leadership team has led multiple rounds of small intimate video on sessions with employees to keep dialogue open and flowing and really just provide employees a space to share what's top of mind for them. I would say third on my list is diversity and inclusion, which obviously has been front and center. It's served as a really important foundation for a lot of the activities and the initiatives over the last several months. And I think the social unrest here in the US and across the globe has led to stronger partnerships and educational offerings across our employee resource groups. So we've done sessions on microaggressions, how to be an ally, implicit bias, and even in our women's ERG, we started really transparent conversations around gender pay equality, which looks surprisingly good, by the way. So, and then the last thing around that one, I would say, is just the challenge that our working parents have had to face. Starting the school year with remote learning, we're all, as parents, more stressed out than ever. We have brought in some guest speakers to talk about some different education experts to talk about back to school kind of remote style. We've partnered with a babysitters club to give our parents a break. So we have professional performers that do dance parties and trivia games to keep kids occupied for a bit. And then I just talked about those Collabby Convos. We just had a whole series on working parents and how to giving employees a chance to kind of share different ideas and tips and tricks. And it's also a great sanity check. Oh, I'm not the only one who's letting my kid have 4 hours of screen time every day. And then the fourth one I'll say really quickly is just making sure that we're offering relevant training. Right now, it's super important that we continue to offer meaningful resources to employees. And so after COVID halted travel, we provided guidelines on working from home, on balance and stress. We've been offering courses on social activism and mental health. We've started really pushing content on resiliency and growth mindset. We're just always trying to ask ourselves how we can continue to provide impactful and educational content. And so kind of to answer the second question, I know that was a lot. Well, how does all that relate to Workday? A few different ways that we're able to leverage Workday for those things. One has been the ability to leverage Workday learning. We have been able to offer over 500 curated courses and programs to our employees. And similar to Shannon, we leverage LinkedIn Learning. So we have some third-party content, but we also develop a lot of content internally. So recording an informal brown bag session and then uploading it for other people within the organization to watch. With our Collabby Convos that I mentioned, folks have to go in and register within Workday Learning to participate and attend one of those sessions. And then we also have new manager training, which is all done through a program. It's an auto-assigned program based on a change in role within Workday. So we've been able to automate some of that and take the burden off some of our L&D admin responsibilities. I would say too, Workday has really helped us bolster feedback and recognition. You know, we've always strived to have an open and honest feedback culture, and Workday really is the key to enabling this for us. When we go in and leave feedback for a colleague in Workday, we actually have a drop-down list where we select one of our 5 values to tie that feedback to one of our core values. Third, quickly, I will say compensation. I mentioned earlier that we took a look under the microscope at gender parity, and Workday made it really easy for us to do that and start to analyze that data. And then last but not least, I'll say that Workday really has enabled career growth through performance activities. We are in the process of revamping our performance strategy right now. At Rising last year, I was so impressed with Workday's enhanced approach to performance. And so we just decided to hit refresh and take on some of these best practices that Workday has kind of laid out there for us to leverage. And a big part of this is ensuring that our employees feel empowered to own their own performance story. So for us, that means it's an employee-owned and manager-supported performance and career growth kind of forward-looking trajectory for them. And that will consist of an annual reflection, so kind of an annual reflection to look back, but most of the activities in this new performance strategy are going to be forward-looking. So we're going to have development goals that support our corporate objectives. We'll have quarterly check-ins. We'll continue to use anytime feedback. We'll continue to do 9-box and calibration. but we're going to be introducing engagement conversations and then also integrating customer feedback. So again, our goal is to put the employee in the driver's seat and have their managers really support them along the way. So I know that was a lot. I will pause there.
That's okay. I was going to give a shout out to Feedback Fridays. I love Feedback Fridays.
Yes.
Next slide. I think we're going to go back to Shannon and talk about what are some of the opportunities moving forward for Freddie Mac.
Thanks, Danielle. You mentioned the Feedback Fridays. I do that myself. I just make a note every Friday. I'm like, make sure you're reaching out to people and letting them know how they're doing. So I like that about you guys doing that officially, I guess, corporate wide. I will say we're very fortunate that we were on Workday, being on a SaaS platform going into the pandemic. It really helped us be much more flexible to meet some of the challenges, a number of the ones, Tia, you mentioned as well. And we're also fortunate that we were on Microsoft Teams that really helped us with the collaboration that we really needed to do in the pandemic. I'll say we haven't stopped work. Everything's been going actually probably a little bit faster than I ever thought. I thought we might be like, oh, this pandemic, but it's been just more and more, and people have been just being able to do so much. But at the same time, we really do, keep a focus on our employees and making sure that they're safe and then they're healthy. We have no plan when we have plans, but we have no idea when we're going to be returning to the office. And all of our work has fully shifted to remote, just knowing that it's not going to be the same place when we left. There'll probably be a hybrid of people. You're going to have to really start looking at whether people are going to be 100% remote or not, or half and half. You're going to have to really think about how you're going to be doing that work with that kind of hybrid approach. What we've done is we have been moving into more of an agile approach for, I'd say, over a year now, but this has just fast-tracked it. I've really started pushing the team to be more agile in how they're delivering work, how they're working together. And we've been using and looking at tools to really help us be more efficient and effective with our projects and initiatives, things such as Microsoft Teams, Asana, Monday.com, some of those things to really kind of bring in all the work that we're doing so that we can launch it. And so those are some opportunities we're really looking at now that we have Workday in place and don't have to worry about bringing on a cloud-based system. But one of the other challenges that we're still running into is when we do return to work, how are we all still safe? So there's other things where even though Workday might not be the core of these opportunities, when we have other challenges like how do we figure out when somebody has COVID? How do we notify others, right? What do you do when you come back to the office if you start bringing people back and people still feel safe? And so we've been looking at sensors, that alert people when they're too close to each other, alert people if somebody gets COVID, and how do you tell anybody that's been in that proximity? And what we've been doing is kind of looking at the Workday to say, well, we could use Workday and integrate it to push out notifications quicker, so that it could be more timely rather than manual. So that's kind of where Workday's stepped in and opportunities for us to jump in and help out with some corporate challenges that we might be facing. But the other thing is just making sure we have a strategy as we go through it, and making sure also that we think about the culture, because when you're 100% remote, I think that's the thing that's getting the most impact, and making sure you still think about how do you embed your culture into remote work, hybrid. People are going to be, I think, in the office and at home going forward.
Thanks, Shannon. So I know we're going to ask the next question of Corey. What are kind of the opportunities moving forward for WeWork?
Sure. I think before jumping into WeWork, I definitely want to recognize, Shannon's comments around returning to work. As for WeWork, it's of course been very top of mind as our product is Workspace. And so, we found a lot of very unique opportunities, not necessarily within Workday, but using other technologies. We have a really incredible data analytics team within our people function who have really helped to find those opportunities to use technology to help us really drive meaningful decisions around return to work. So, we've recognized a lot of value there. And so, Shannon definitely can echo a lot of what, you've recognized in terms of those opportunities. So, not to sort of have the bland response of kind of going back to basics with Workday, but in regard to opportunities, I think as our team has pushed over the last several months to really, drive that consolidation, as I talked about previously, around utilizing Workday and our existing technology to its full extent. I think, we've really been able to kind of prove that concept and really get the support of leadership and stakeholders to, further develop now that we've, established those tools across various functions. And so as we drive these, highly visible initiatives around things like talent and performance, I think it puts our team at a really unique in a really unique position to, further develop and really optimize those tools. I think as we had focused for so long on really just establishing that foundation, now that we are getting there, it gives our team a really great opportunity to, to continue to build and sort of, focus more on, as Workday releases are made available, really kind of grasping those new features, new functionality, and, helping that to, drive, smarter working and kind of helping us to be more effective, and the tools that we're building to be more effective to our partners across various people functions. So I think really that's an opportunity there. Again, now that we've sort of established that foundation, really building onto it, and really thinking outside of the box, and to refer back again to sort of this Extend project, just being one of many where our team is able to not only recognize that there is a unique need, but really have creative solutions available to to really solve for those more complex problems. And I think that's, our opportunity to keep that on a consolidated platform has been huge for us. And I think that's one area where, again, we'll just look to continue to optimize and really build out added value, for our stakeholders, and at the same time kind of minimize that sort of maintenance and sort of overhead from a systems perspective as well.
That's great, Corey. I think, one thing that I hear, and you and Shannon both, and this isn't, I think out of the norm from what we're hearing with talking with a lot of our customers, is really the extensibility of Workday being able to, be a part of your broader landscape, right? And that the SaaS product model has made it really easy to kind of manage that, especially from a remote environment, as you look at additional products, whether that's third party or building Extend right into Workday, but finding those opportunities to really extend the system to solve these workforce challenges. So glad to see that it's a consistent story, I think, as we continue to talk to our customers. And of course, last but certainly not least, Tia, what opportunities are moving forward for us here at Collaborative Solutions?
Yeah, well, so first of all, Corey, I'm super jealous that you have a data analytics team. I would love to have as much of a data nerd as I am. I need somebody that is like really good with that to show me you can read those spreadsheets and like see the numbers pop out at them. So for us, I think, employee experience, same, is really top of mind for us. And when I think about Workday functionality in particular, one of the things that we're starting conversations around is how Workday journeys can really enhance our employee experience. So looking at how we can use a journey for onboarding or work anniversaries or job changes or open enrollment, returning to work from a leave of absence or international assignments, those kinds of things. They look really powerful, they look really robust, and it's very slick. So I'm super interested to start to hear more about journeys. And I don't know if our CFO is on the phone, but this is a big plug to, no pressure, but would love to have Workday journeys implemented here. The other thing that I think would be great is to leverage Workday's people analytics tool for data-based analysis. Again, the data nerd in me coming out. I'm very excited about this. And we're actually starting to ramp up our conversations with our internal HRIS team to push out people analytics. So super excited to see where that goes. And then I think last, enabling employees' career aspirations through custom learning paths within Workday Learning to support career progression and even diversity, D&I, diversity and inclusion type initiatives is something that we are definitely looking at for the future, and how we can leverage those learning paths for things like that.
Thanks, Tia. I think it sounds like awesome opportunities that exist really across the board for everyone, and I'm sure that some of you on the webinar right now have some of those opportunities too. And just a reminder to put any questions in the right hand of your screen in the GoToWebinar. But we did get a couple questions we're going to start at right now. And I think the first one is really going to be, my organization is currently considering a remote deployment. What's the biggest piece of advice to ensure success? And Shannon, I'm gonna go to you with this one because I think that you're the one who's lived it most recently. And I think you gave us a little bit of hints there, but what would you recommend to someone who's embarking on this for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned a lot around communication and collaboration, but what I would even more so recommend is strong project management lead and accountability structure. Because when you're not in the office, it's not as easy to just go next door and talk to somebody about, hey, where is this or what's that going on? But strong project management will always drive a successful project, whether you're remote or not. Just having the benefit of Workday, it being their methodology is really built to be remote. I know Daniel probably remembers this when 2013, we came from, that was not a remote time period people were talking about. And I remember Collaborative saying, well, we're going to work remote on a number of these things. And we're like, nope, everybody needs to be in the office. Like, it just wasn't our culture. And I think as we've gone through years of Workday and working on the SaaS program, and we've really started to trust the process and trust the remote abilities that people can get work done. And we've been working with Collaborative with their CVS for a number of years, already 100% remote. So that comfort just came with it right when we were kind of thrown into the 100% remote for our Workday recruitment project. Because even I think we kind of went 50-50 on that project, but just going to 100%, there were just a number of things we needed to shift. But I mean, I think we've all been doing this now for a number of months, and there should be no difference. Management of tasks and projects is no different whether you're remote or if you're in the office.
Thanks, Shannon. I think it's an interesting thought about the remote environment. I know T and I had this conversation because, as you mentioned, I remember from 2013 trying to be more remote. And Collaborative's always had a heavy remote presence, right? That's been a typical model for how we've worked. And so it was interesting when all of a sudden people started working remotely and the focus of people feeling cooped up. And I didn't understand it at first because I'm like, we've always worked this way. Why are we feeling this way? And then all of a sudden I realized it's the fact that you can't leave your house, right? You could no longer got the break to get out and take your kids to school or pick them up or go have dinner and drinks with friends or just, go to church or do any of those things, go to football games, Shannon, right? Being able to miss all of those things meant even those of us who were used to a very remote environment meant that, all of a sudden it was a different kind of remote environment for all of us. So that resonates very much. We did get another question, and I think this is probably going to go to Tia. Tia, this is a question about how would people analytics be used to help us?
Oh, wow. Well, we're just starting to dig into people analytics within Workday. So I haven't had a lot of exposure to it yet, but I don't know that I can answer that really well since I haven't seen it or played with it, but I'm super excited about it.
Danielle, I'll say one thing that we've kind of looked at is people's time off and trying to focus on, is that impacting the business, right? Has working from home and managing all those things, Danielle, you just talked about, is it impacting people's ability to actually still work, right? Or are they taking more sick leave or more time off because of what's going on? And luckily we haven't actually seen any, like, we were keeping an eye on it, but we haven't seen any influx in any way, positive or negative. It seemed to stay the same.
That's great. I think that's a great thing to kind of monitor as you go forward, right? Is to kind of, especially once you go back to probably a hybrid model in the future, is to see if there's any changes once a hybrid model comes back. Because I do wonder what it's going to look like when people start returning to the office in some sort of manner. But this is still happening in the background, right? We know it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So how is that going to really affect us going forward? So it's great to hear that you're looking at it that way. Corey, are you looking at anything across your analytics platform to kind of inform and guide you on decision making?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't take credit for any of this because our analytics team is a bit separate from our systems team, although we do partner very closely. But, a lot of, prior to our, hyper focus on the pandemic, a lot of what that team is measuring, it aligns with a lot of our broader people initiatives, as we, look at things like engagement, what is our sort of, our attrition rate, like things like that, really keeping that sort of focus on those steady state metrics. And then, as we are launching various initiatives, people or otherwise, now, again, as I'd mentioned, we are really refocusing on our performance and talent strategies. Our communication strategy overall is one that's come up recently. And so this team, where they find opportunities to kind of measure the success of those programs, are really putting that into, what the metrics that they're making available to leadership and our various functional stakeholders. So, specifically around the pandemic, the team has really focused on, productivity as we're talking about, returning to the office and sort of what everyone's experience has been working remote. There were a lot of really interesting, sort of investigations that they did and using specific data sets around Slack, emails, frequency of our employees interacting, how frequently our employees are meeting with their managers, whether that changed, with the work from home structure. And so they really did find a lot of great insights that really helped to drive, one, our return to work strategy, but then also are helping to inform sort of how we can be most productive and ensure that we're staying connected with our teams, in sort of uncertain times.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think it's going to be critical that, we started it now because we had an immediate need, but I don't think that the need's going to go away anytime soon. So I think it's great examples to kind of hear how we're monitoring our greatest assets, our employees. So I'm glad to hear that. Another question we have is actually related to, planning for workday updates. Obviously, just had one, but, what's kind of the process that you go through for planning your workday updates and making sure that you're taking advantage of the most that you can? So I'm going to actually start with Tia on that one.
Yeah. So obviously we have fantastic consultants who implement Workday for our customers, but we have a really great internal HRIS and IT admin team who help us make the magic happen for our own instance of Workday internally. So they start planning for Workday updates probably 2 months in advance of the release date. And the reason for that is because we end up including several key stakeholders in our release preparation activities. We get them involved not only to get them excited about the different features that are going to be coming out, but also to really set the expectation on what we need to do as an organization to be ready for the release and what's coming. We have a very well-defined testing schedule, and we also ensure that all of our tenants are refreshed so that we can test out new features before the new upgrade happens. And I also know that we have an aggregated list of testing scenarios to ensure that we're testing functionality within Workday, within the Workday tenant. And then I think the last thing that we do as far as prep is concerned is we really start digging into the new features as soon as that Workday starts to release those, so we can start to talk about those. And we kind of identify them in 3 different categories. What features are going to be changing automatically, because we're going to have to prepare for those, those features that are turned on no matter what. Second, what features can we turn on, the optional features can we turn on as soon as the release comes out? And in that case, we want to ensure that we're providing overviews of those different features to our employees so they're aware of it. And then the third bucket with that is what features are we interested in, but maybe not ready to turn on right away. And if that's the case, we want to make sure that we're adding those to our project plans so we can look at those in the future. And I guess if I had to offer a tip for folks, I would say make sure that you're utilizing Workday's Preparation Center out on Community. The project plans that we use, our testing scenarios, and a lot of our documentation come from those documents that are found out there. So it's a really good resource for people to use.
Excellent. Thanks, Tia. Shannon, I know you've actually done a couple of moderated sessions with us talking about the update process, and obviously have been doing it for quite some time. Have you had any lessons learned that you'd like to share on how that works, or changes that you guys have made over the years as you've moved forward?
Yeah, I mean, one of the benefits is that we've been on doing updates for 7 years, and we've really fine-tuned our process. But I will tell you, we just went through our last one and adjusted our project planning steps and tasks yet again to just keep continuing to streamline what we're doing so that we can get those updates in as tested as quickly as possible. We also utilize Kano Smart, which is an automated testing tool. And what that's really done is significantly reduced our testing time. I don't necessarily say that immediately it gets rid of what we do, because for Workday recruitment, we did do all of our testing manually following our test scripts and working with collaborative solutions, but we take those test cases and move them right into what we do in our upgrades. So every upgrade we do, they just become regression tests is what we call it. And so a little bit like Tia, we only implement during that time things that we have to. We don't put on new stuff. We do review all the release notes, but we want to make sure the product is working in that 4-week period as the baseline, and then we will immediately after look at what's come out and implement into separate releases. And as I mentioned about that agile working, really trying to get things out much quicker so that we're meeting what the business is asking for.
Thanks, Shannon. I think, Corey, you probably have a unique perspective on this, having both been an implementer as well as a customer. Any tricks or things you want to share about managing the Workday updates from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, organization is key. Given that we can get ahead of and know what to expect with each release, maybe not the specifics of what, the features that are being released and what those impacts might be. It's easy to get ahead of, what stakeholders need to be engaged, ensuring that we're planning ahead so that, if there are impacts that we need to plan for, any quick fixes we need to make within that preview period and that kind of release testing period, that we have the right folks involved and aren't scrambling last minute. And I think it's very easy to sort of reinvent the wheel every time you go through a release. And I think we've learned, and through my experience kind of in consulting as well, is that it's something that is very, if it is documented well as a process that is easily repeatable, it has to be tweaked every time. But if you have a strong foundation in place, it's very painless across the board for, our team from a systems perspective, as well as our functional stakeholders, those engaged in change management, and it becomes very routine. So that, helps us to, if there are any surprises, really have the flexibility to plan for that, because everything else is sort of an afterthought, which is great.
Thanks. I think that the consistent theme I hear is, like Tia being a data nerd, I'm a planning nerd, which Shannon can probably remember. And all of you have really, highlighted the importance of having a good, solid plan and making sure that you, review your plans and adjust as necessary depending on what's coming out, but really focusing on having a solid plan going forward rather than, tackling it ad hoc. So that makes my heart sing anyway. I think we're done with questions now. So I, want to thank you for joining us today. We look forward to following up with a recording of this session. And obviously, I'd really like to thank Freddie Mac and WeWork for your partnership and sharing your stories, and Tia for representing Collaborative as a customer and not just as the partner. In addition to these customers, we have several other clients who've graciously committed their time to the Cultivate and have candid conversations scheduled with folks interested in Workday. So if you haven't scheduled one of those yet, please feel free to schedule a live chat with one of our existing customers. You can reach out to your Collaborative salesperson. And additionally, if you have any questions regarding a specific solution, we also have Workday experts on call. I'm very excited about those experts that are available to everyone, so please take advantage of them. If you'd like to schedule a one-on-one with one of our experts, you can book directly through our Cultivate website. So thank you very much, and I appreciate everyone joining us.